The operator who made the fatal mistake had 23 years of experience. Not a trainee, not a contractor, not a new hire. An expert. The kind of person everyone trusted. The kind people point to and say, if anyone knows how to do this safely, it's him. Think about Texas City. Think about Grangemouth. Think about Longford. In each of those cases, critical errors involve people with decades of experience, and this isn't unusual. In high-consequence industries, around 60% of serious incidents involve operators with more than 10 years of experience. So today, in episode 11, the first episode of season 3, we are exploring a difficult question. When does expertise stop protecting us? Because we tend to assume experience automatically reduces risk. But sometimes, authority, group loyalty, and even quiet heroics can increase vulnerability. This is the Safety Edge. Welcome back to the Safety Edge podcast, where safety leaders sharpen their edge. I'm Charles Edgar, your safety leadership coach. In this podcast, we explore the real dilemmas safety leaders face on site and in the workplace. Not textbook examples, not perfect scenarios, but the challenging, uncomfortable human moments when there's no obvious right answer and the pressure is real. And in each episode, we unpack one real-world leadership dilemma and explore how adopting a coaching mindset can make the difference. Not by controlling people, but by sharpening how we think, listen, and lead. You've probably heard someone say, "Don't worry, I've done this 1,000 times." And most of the time, that experience genuinely protects us. It makes work smoother, it reduces uncertainty, it builds confidence. Experience is a gift, but here's the uncomfortable truth. The same experience that protects us can also quietly lower our guard. When something becomes familiar, our brains stop treating it as a threat. We stop scanning, we stop questioning, we stop noticing small changes. The task becomes automatic, and that's often when risk hides. Our brains are efficient. They create shortcuts, patterns, and assumptions, so we don't have to think so hard. Psychologists call this automation bias. It's when familiarity reduces active thinking. Daniel Kahneman describes something similar as System 1 thinking: fast, automatic, and intuitive. Brilliant for routine tasks, but dangerous when conditions change. You've experienced this while driving home. You arrive and realize you don't remember the last few minutes. Your brain was on autopilot. Now imagine the same mental state while controlling a pressure system or even opening a bleed valve. Instead of asking, "What's happening right now?" we begin asking, "What usually happens?" And when experience is high, usually starts replacing currently. We see what we expect to see, not necessarily what's there. That's why many serious incidents involve highly experienced people. Not because they are careless, but because confidence removes friction from their thinking. They move quickly, smoothly, efficiently until something small changes and they don't notice. Picture this. You are walking through the plant with one of the most experienced supervisors. 22 years on the job, respected, trusted, calm under pressure, the kind of person everyone relies on. You watch him complete a 12-step isolation process in just 6 minutes instead of 10. He skips the secondary verification process. He glances at the bleed valve but doesn't really do any checks. When someone asks a question, he smiles and says, "No worries." I've done this hundreds of times. At first, it reassures you, then something feels off. Nothing is technically wrong, permits are signed, controls are in place, the job is considered routine. But there's a pause, no curiosity, no second look, only certainty. And now you are standing there thinking, do I interrupt or do I stay silent? Because nothing is clearly unsafe. This is the real leadership challenge, not procedures, not checklists, but recognizing when experience itself may be drifting towards risk. And in that moment, you're not sure what to do. Now you are in a dilemma. Why is this a dilemma? This is a dilemma because experience sits at the top of everything we value. We train for it, we reward it, we promote based on it. So when experience becomes the concern, it creates tension. It's what leadership scholars called a double bind, a situation where both action and inaction carry risk. If you intervene, you risk damaging trust. If you stay silent, you risk normalizing shortcuts. And the hardest part, there's no violation, no rule broken, no dramatic red flag, just a subtle drift from awareness to assumption, from curiosity to certainty. Here are the 5 quiet signals to watch out for. 1. Speed increases without reflection. 2. Questions are brushed off. 3. Verification steps feel optional. 4. Small irregularities are dismissed. 5. Confidence replaces curiosity. Research from James Reason, known as the Swiss cheese model, shows that many incidents begin with skill-based errors. Mistakes made during routine tasks by capable people. Major failures rarely begin dramatically. They begin quietly. Now, what do most leaders do in situations like this? Most leaders often do nothing. Not because they don't care, but because it feels too subtle to challenge. So they rationalize. He knows what he's doing. I don't want to undermine him. It's probably fine. And they wait. But often by the time it's obvious, it's too late. I've seen this happen severally. An experienced supervisor bypassed a lockout step just for a second. The valve failed. He lost 3 fingers. Later, colleagues said the same thing. I thought about saying something, but I assumed he knew. The issue isn't indifference, it's hesitation. Leaders don't always feel like they have permission to intervene when nothing looks wrong. Now, what do most strong safety leaders do differently? They step into that subtle space, not aggressively, not punitively, but thoughtfully. They observe without assumption. They ask questions that create reflection. Questions like, what are you noticing right now? Has anything changed since the last time? What could we be missing now? They normalize curiosity, even for experts. They intervene early with small nudges, and they make it safe for experience to be questioned respectfully. Does it slow things down? Yes, maybe for about 30 seconds, but it prevents incidents that cost hours and even lives. One leader I had coached had said, I used to think questioning senior people would undermine them. Now I realize it protects them. Experience remains a strength, especially when it's paired with vigilance. That is the shift. Now let's take this mindset into the field and see it from a coaching lens. It's 2 a.m. in the morning and you are taking a walk in the plant. One of your most experienced supervisors is preparing a routine intervention. With over 20 years on the floor, everyone trusts him. But you notice something. He has skipped the secondary verification before opening the bleed valve. A small step, but a critical one. You take a breath and then you step forward. Can we pause for a second? I notice you skipped the secondary verification. And he responds,
"It's fine. I've done this hundreds of times. That step has never caught anything. We'll be here all day if we follow every little check."
And you say, I get that. And your experience is exactly why I'm asking. If something had changed today, where would it most likely show up? And the supervisor paused and responds,
Maybe around that valve. It was replaced last week, but honestly, it should be fine. Those guys knew what they were doing.
That's what I was thinking. Would you be open to taking one more look just to be certain?
I don't think it's necessary, but all right. If it'll put everyone's mind at ease, let's check it.
I appreciate that. Experience is strongest when it stays curious. Now let's examine the key strategies used in this conversation. 1. Respect before redirection. The coach doesn't challenge the supervisor's competence. Instead of saying you skip a step, the coach says, I noticed. This keeps the conversation neutral and avoids anything that could trigger defensiveness. Then the coach highlights his experience by saying, your experience is exactly why I'm asking. This preserves identity and status, which is critical when speaking to experienced operators. 2. Curiosity instead of correction. The coach doesn't instruct. Instead, he asks, if something had changed today, where would it most likely show up? This shifts the supervisor from defending to thinking, activating reflection instead of resistance. 3. Future-focused framing. Notice the subtle shift. The coach didn't say you made a mistake. He said, if something had changed. This makes the supervisor comfortable to explore the risk without admitting fault. 4. Specific risk anchoring. When the supervisor mentions the replaced valve, the coach reinforced it. This anchors the conversation to a concrete factor, not a vague statement like, be careful, stay safe. This approach zeroes in on specific risk, lowers the ego, and increases practical awareness. 5. Choice and not command. The coach said, would you be open to taking one more look? This language preserves autonomy. Experienced leaders often resist control, but they tend to respond to engagement, especially when it involves genuine inquiries. The supervisor complies because he chooses to, and that preserves his dignity. 6. Reframing experience. The closing line was strategic. The coach said, experience is stronger when it stays curious. This reframes caution as strength, not doubt. It subtly upgrades the supervisor's identity, not just by being experienced, but being experienced and reflective. Now, if you look closely beneath the surface, you see that the coach was managing 3 dynamics simultaneously. 1. Ego protection. 2. Time pressure. 3. Authority tension. This is influence without dominance, correction without confrontation, leadership without hierarchy. And in high-risk environment, that often determines whether people engage safely or they push back. Now let's examine the key takeaways from this episode. Experience is one of our greatest assets. It keeps operations steady. It helps teams move with confidence. It allows people to make sound decisions under pressure. Experience is valuable, but it won't correct itself. Leadership and curiosity must fill the gap. If we don't stay attentive, it can quietly narrow our field of vision. It can make routine feel safer than it really is. It can turn awareness into assumptions. Today, we explore the difficult truth that even the most capable people can drift into autopilot. Not because they lack skill, not because they don't care, but because familiarity softens vigilance. And that's where leadership makes the difference. Leadership that notices, leadership that pauses, leadership that asks. It's not about challenging competence, it's about pairing confidence with curiosity, speed with reflection, expertise with humility. If this conversation stretches your thinking, that's a good sign. Many leaders have told me that simply asking one timely question has helped them catch something small before it became something serious. Culture doesn't shift through policies alone, it shifts in the moment. Moments of attention, moments of courage, moments of shared curiosity. That's how experience stays a strength. That's how risk is seen early. That's how safety becomes something people own, not something they comply with. And that is the edge. This episode marks the beginning of Season 3. Throughout this season, we'll explore the deeper questions behind safety performance, looking closely at expertise, authority, and group dynamics. We won't just focus on what went wrong, we'll look beneath the surface at the human factors, leadership tensions, and subtle cultural dynamics that shape outcomes long before incidents occur. Because safety isn't built on procedures alone, it's shaped in conversations, in decisions, and in moments of leadership. I look forward to you joining me for this journey in Season 3, and I hope that you will take away key lessons that you can apply immediately in your workplace. While here, make sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to invite a friend or colleague to listen along with you. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Safety Edge podcast. I'm Charles Edgar, your safety leadership coach. And until next time, keep leading, keep learning, and keep sharpening your edge. Bye for now.
Brought to you by the Safety Edge platform, an independent leadership and safety learning platform, building leadership capacity one conversation at a time. Find us wherever you get your podcasts